Welcome back to another episode of NRL by Jellyman here on Tuesday the 6th of June, getting it out a bit earlier this week. Looking back at Origin just briefly, round 14 briefly, some takeaways, standings update, and then previewing round 15 the weekend ahead, obviously without team list out as yet, but looking into some stats and etc. To help you. Weekend punting of NRL coming up, obviously an extra long weekend with Thursday to Monday being Queen/King birthday, and I think Sydney and Melbourne. So an extra long weekend for states there, obviously being unfortunately in Queensland, we don't have that luxury. But jumping straight back into it, looking at Origin last Wednesday, Queensland getting the win 26-18, down by 12 men, down by 2 points, and then a couple of tries, Tabuai-Fidow going down that sideline, and then Munster getting the hand off Collins after he makes the catch. New South Wales really should have won, but obviously Queensland pulling through. Not much else to go into other than obviously Queensland doing what they need to do. The second game is in Queensland as well, so New South Wales are up against it here coming into Queensland, and we'll see what sort of selections they make, obviously with the Cleary and Murray injury. Obviously a few things will be shifted around there. Queensland have a couple injuries as well, so we'll preview that in the upcoming weeks. But looking back at Friday night game, the Raiders beating the Tigers 20-19. We actually turned this off just after halftime when we saw Fogarty go over, and it was 18-0. And then obviously the Tigers doing what they can, and the Raiders liking a close game, allowing them back in there. Obviously Bullett, Bateman, Wakeman all scoring from 68th to 72nd minute. And then obviously that late, there was a field goal by Brooks, but then that penalty goal for Fogarty, giving the Raiders the win there. It's interesting actually, the Tigers scored after the Tom Starling sin bin as well. But the Raiders doing what they need to do, getting a win there in Campbelltown ahead of this weekend's 300th for Jared Croker. The Kiwis, so New Zealand Warriors beating the Dolphins 30-8. Johnson scoring a double, DWZ, Dylan Watene-Zelezniak also scoring a double. Metcalf also scoring there for the Warriors. Dolphins, New and Asako also scored there. But it was a Sean Johnson show early on. He ran the game, did what he needed to do. And then obviously just beating the Dolphins with these, and the Dolphins obviously having too many Origin players out and players out in general, also having to make their first trip over into New Zealand, also mattered there. The Titans versus South, Titans having a lead, giving up a lead, 46-28 this game in favour of South Sydney. Plenty of tries. Johnson scored 3. Both for Suamalawi brothers scoring, Khan-Pereira, Fafita and Randall. Koloa-Ngatangi, Graham, Walker, Kennett and Saleh also scoring for South, but just as try-scoring feast in this one. And South doing what they have to do and got the win at Seabus Stewart. Another high-scoring game for the Titans where they scored 26-plus points, but also allowed 26-plus points. The Saturday night game, the Sharks versus the Broncos. The Broncos just kept turning away the Sharkies at the line. Plenty of opportunity for Cronulla, but couldn't convert, couldn't get past that Brisbane defence. 20-12 in favour of Brisbane down there at PointsBet Stadium. All their Origin players backing up. Super impressive. Staggs, Mam, Arthurs, Farnworth all scoring for the Broncos. Talakai and Kennedy scoring there for the Sharks. And it probably should have been 20-6 if not for that late try for Kennedy. Obviously Reynolds running the show there for Brisbane as well. Sunday's games, the Roosters playing the Bulldogs. Watching this one, Tedesco was on fire early. Actually, the Dogs were on fire early, scoring 2 early tries through Tavita Pangai Jr. with that one-handed pickup, which was super impressive. Then Reid Marnie also going over. And then Tedesco hitting back with 2 straight tries. Addo Carr getting a nice grubber through the line. And then Addo Carr scoring another breakaway try. Polga and Suali'i also scored for the Roosters. This one was tight, 24-all late in the piece. And then Luke Keary nailing a field goal and getting the win for the Roosters. But once again, both sides allowing points and scoring points, but none neither really impressed in this one, and that's sort of bottom of the table footy in our perspective. The Cowboys beating the Storm. We're actually picking this as an underdog, $3.10. The Cowboys winning 45-20. Valemade scored 3, but his defence was terrible. Holmes scored, Tuolangi scored 2, Nani scoring 1, and Townsend scoring a late one as well. Coates, Olam and Meany all scoring for the Storm, but it was all the Cowboys' way in this one. And as we mentioned in our analysis, them at home, they can win and win well and continue to win. It's when they go on the road that's their real struggle at the moment, at least. The next and last Sunday night game was the Panthers hosting the Dragons. Cleary obviously doing his hamstring quite early in the piece, so having to take over the reins. I think it was Kenny or I believe could have been Cogger. We only watched half of this. Yes, it was. Excuse me. Yeah, so obviously Cleary going out early in the piece. The Panthers still getting the win 26-18, but weren't really impressive and wasn't too much else to take away from this game. Obviously, Crichton stepped in to fill the shoes of the kicking duties. They're ultimately probably winning them the game with the boot. And the Dragons obviously all over the shop once again. A quick standings update. So the Panthers still on top. They've obviously had 2 byes though, so they're on 20 points. Only played 12 games. The Broncos and Rabbitohs next. No byes there, which is really strange. 10-4 the Broncos are, 9-5 the Rabbitohs are. The Sharkies next, along with the Storm at 7-5 with 2 byes. 4th and 5th. The Raiders in 6th spot, 8-5 and 1 bye. The Warriors, Dolphins, and the Roosters just outside the 8th, 9th, along with the Seagulls 10th, the Knights 11th, the Eels down there in 12th, the Titans 13th, Cowboys, Bulldogs, Tigers, and Dragons. We can see if the Cowboys and Eels maybe make a run, as well as the Roosters obviously sitting just outside the pack there, but who drops out, who knows, depends how that schedule looks towards the back end of the season. Round 15 preview. So Thursday night's game at Cbus Super Stadium. The Tigers travel up there to the Gold Coast playing against the Titans. I guess the main thing is Kieran Foran's still out. So it looks to be the same halves combo. And I mean, they were able to score points, but they've allowed 20 plus points in 6 of the last 7 games, 26 plus points in 6 of the last 7 games as well. Khan-Pereira, 13 tries in 11 games. The Titans have allowed tries to the left winger in 6 of the last 7 games, which I think will be Buller. Junior Tupou on their wing there. The Tigers have allowed 16 plus points in 9 of their last 10 games. Sammy, it'll be his 100th NRL game on the weekend. The Titans have won their past 4 games against the Tigers and 9 of the past 11. So the Titans to win is a good bet. The Tigers have only won 2 of their past 9 games in Queensland. And Khan-Pereira has scored 5 tries in 4 games at Cbus Super Stadium. And Nofoaluma has scored 8 tries in his past 11 games. So Khan-Pereira, Nofoaluma, along with the Titans win, could be something to put together there. Friday night's game, so Croker 300th in Canberra at GIO, playing against the Warriors. The Raiders 44 plus total points in 5 of their last 6 games, 20 plus points in 7 of the last 8 games. The Raiders have allowed 18 plus points in 11 of 13 games. They've also allowed tries on the edge in their last 11 games. The Warriors 22 plus points in 7 of the last 9 games, so plenty of points potentially being scored in Canberra in this one. DWZ, so Delaney. Zalesniak? Oh, sorry, I missed that completely. DW has had 5 tries in his last 3 games. Warriors winger has scored doubles in 3 of his 7 games in 2023. So Dylan Wateni Zalesniak. There we go. I've got it there. The Raiders have won 7 of their past 8 games. They've conceded the second most tries in the NRL though this season. And Sean Johnson requires 3 goals for 500 NRL goals. So look at some total points in this one. Obviously it opening up potentially. Some previous matchups, the Raiders beat the Warriors last season 26-14. And the Warriors beat them by 1 point, 21-20 there. Obviously, the Raiders coming into this one with better form. The other Friday night game, I believe it's written down. Yep, 8 p.m. I had to hear it's 3 p.m. Strange. The Seagulls hosting the Dolphins at 4 Pines Park. I expect a couple changes in this one, just with the Dolphins men coming back in potentially, but also Turbo looks healthy, or it's listed him as good to go, I should say. Yeah, it looks like that case. It's been given clearance. Yep, so Turbo looks good to play. The Seagulls, they've allowed 20 plus points in 4 of their last 5 games, allowing tries on the right edge in 8 of the last 9 games. So that's Asako. Allowed tries to the left winger in 4 of the last 6 games. That's Tessie New. The Dolphins, 26 plus points in 4 of the last 6 games, but they've allowed 16 plus points in 10 of the last 11 games. 38 plus total points in 11 of 13 games. Asako, 13 tries in 13 games. And the Dolphins are allowing tries on the right edge defensively. So that's the left winger for the Seagulls coming down there. I think that may be Garrick. Obviously, we'll have to confirm that when the sides come out. Dolphins winger Jermaine Asako has scored 22 of his side's 34 points over the past fortnight. Scored 5 tries in his past 3 games. Following 4 of the 5 losses this year, the Dolphins have bounced back to win the following week. The Seagulls have lost their past 5 games against Queensland-based teams. Garrick has scored a try in 3 consecutive games. So there we go. Bennett actually has a 5-1 record against Seabold. And Turbo has scored 7 tries in his past 7 games at 4 Pines Park. But we'll need to see the team list for this one before we make any sort of prediction. The Dragons hosting South down there at Netstrata Jubilee Stadium. Arrow out or sidelined. Also Bird rested. The Dragons have allowed 22 plus points in their last 4 games. They've also allowed a double, so a try-double in their last 4 games. So looking at AJ there, Alex Johnson. The Dragons have allowed tries to the right edge, have allowed the right edge to score in their last 12 games. So that could be a Campbell Graham there or a Kaloa Matangi. South's 20 plus points in 8 of the last 9 games, but they've allowed 28, 33 and 36 points in their last 3 games. And South had only allowed 20 points once in the previous 11 games prior to those 3 games. Johnston, 2 plus tries in 4 of his last 5 games. Cody Walker obviously leading the league in try assists, Ben Hunt in equal 5th. Alex Johnson has scored 12 tries in 13 matches this season, and just 2 behind Steve Menzies' 3rd highest try scorer in Premiership history. The Dragons are aiming for consecutive wins against the Rabbitohs for the first time since 2011. They obviously beat them last season 32-12 in June, so in a similar game after the Rabbits beat them earlier in the season. The Rabbitohs have won, though, 8 of their last 9 games against the Dragons. Ben Hunt's actually scored 5 tries in his past 6 games at Netstrata Jubilee. Latrell Mitchell requires 2 tries for 100 NRL tries, and Ravalawa has scored 7 tries in his past 7 games. A few good stats there. The Broncos, we see a big South win in this one, even at Netstrata Jubilee. They should get a big win in this one before they lose a couple players to the Origin Arena. The Broncos hosting the Knights up there at Suncorp, obviously on most likely a beautiful Saturday evening. The Broncos are allowing tries to the left edge in 8 of the last 9 games. That's Marju on that edge. Knights have allowed 18 plus points in 7 of their last 8 games. Dom Young, 12 tries in 11 games. Also 1 plus try in 4 of his last 5 games. And Marju, 10 tries in 9 games. The Knights have not won back-to-back games since round 1 and 2 in 2022. The Broncos have won 5 of their last 6 games against the Knights at Suncorp. The Knights have only won 2 of their past 8 games in Queensland. Cobbo has scored 6 tries in 3 games against the Knights. And the Broncos are chasing their 200th win at Suncorp Stadium. We like the Broncos and Broncos easily in that one. The Roosters versus the Penrith Panthers with no Nathan Cleary. So we'll need to see who obviously jumps in there. The Roosters have allowed 20 plus points in 8 of their last 9 games. Tedesco 4 tries in his last 2 games. The Roosters are allowing tries to the left winger in their last 3 games. Taruva, 1 plus try in his last 3 games, so that's the left winger. Dill Edwards leading, obviously, the league, leads the NRL for tackle breaks with 85. That's huge. The Roosters have won 5 from 6 at their new Allianz Stadium headquarters. Jackson Paulo, if he plays, he didn't play last week, has scored 5 tries in his past 4 games at Allianz. The Panthers have won 9 of their last 11 games without Nathan Cleary, so they'll be fine. And already mentioned the stat about James Tedesco. Obviously, we need to see the lineups first, but Sydney aren't playing that well. So we like the Panthers to get a win here at Allianz Stadium. One game for the Sunday ticket, which is Storm hosting the Sharkies. Storm obviously coming off that big loss against the North Queensland Cowboys, so they're wanting to bounce back from that. Last season, Cronulla actually beat them 28-6 as well after the Storm beat them down here, or down at Amy Park at 34-18. The Storm's last 6 wins are all by 8+ points, so if they do win, they win by 8+. Storm have allowed 16+ points in their last 6 games. The Sharks 20+ points in 9 of their last 11 games. Mulatalo 11 tries in 12 games. Kennedy 12 tries in 12 games. Obviously, Talakai and Hines been good for the Sharks. The Storm have won 5 of their last 6 games against the Sharks. The Sharks haven't won at Amy Park since 2018. Coates has scored 16 tries in 14 games at Amy Park. Did score last week as well. And Nick Meaney will make his 100th appearance in the NRL as well. We like the Storm to bounce back from a very poor performance last week. And the Sharkies actually do struggle to travel as well. Monday night game, the Bulldogs versus the Eels. I know there was some news about Dylan Brown, so I'm just double checking it here. So far, that looks fine. Obviously, the Bulldogs played well last week against the Roosters, and we expect 20+ points apiece in this one, I reckon, for both squads. The Dogs have allowed 18+ points in 7 of the last 8 games, but have scored 18+ points in 5 of their last 6 games. Addo Carr, 3 tries in his last 2 games, and the Dogs have allowed tries on the right edge in their last 8 games. The right edge would be Russell, and Russell's actually scored 1+ try in 4 of his last 5 games if he is still the winger there for the Eels. The Eels 24+ points in 6 of the last 8 games and have allowed 16+ points in their last 4 games. Sevo 15 tries in 13 games, 1+ try in 7 of his last 9 games, so he's almost a lock to score this weekend. The Bulldogs have won only 3 of their past 15 games against the Eels. The Eels only have won 8 of their last 10 clashes against the Bulldogs at a core, 80%. Bulldogs winger Josh Addo-Carr scored 21 tries in 18 games at a core stadium. And Brad Arthur, that doesn't really matter. The Bulldogs have won their last 3 games played in June, on the June long weekends. They've been well. They've been good on the Monday schedule, or on this weekend, should we say. But we like the Eels in that one coming off the bye to get a good win against the Dogs. But I think both teams score 20+ in that one, much like the City Roosters game last week. That is all for this week, though. As always, we will have on TikTok and Instagram Reels our best bets for the week. Obviously, doing this early in the week, we need to see the team list before we make any decisions. But we have them up. And as always, feel free to like, follow, and subscribe on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and also TikTok there. Thank you, and good luck for this weekend of NRL action.